Look around the book. I'm finishing an apple. I Karen Smith as our Brian John Holly, Mary Ann, Angela Kenny, Joan Denny, Carl Atkinson, Linda Grimm, Diane Wood, Dorothy Joy. I beg your pardon. The apple slice was just irresistible. Louise, how are you?
Did you eat the last piece?
Hi there, Andrea Elizabeth Mitchell. Yes, and Linda Grimm, crunch, crunch, crunch. So, what type of apple is it?
It's a Honey Crisp.
Honey Crisp, which I happen to know
Know
is
it.
our daughter's favorite, right? Yeah.
From the farmer's market.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, from the farmer's market.
From a local Virginia farm in Maryland.
So, I picked this up the other day. I do so admire the writings of Truman Capote. Someday, I will read Norman Mailer's appreciation of him, which is filled with kind of implicit comments about his orientation, but in a time when people didn't note that. But he also called him, word for word, the best stylist we have, which I think is probably true. So in 1955, the first U.S. company to tour the Soviet Union, part of a cultural exchange, a State Department trip, and Truman Capote went along. He wrote a few installments for the New Yorker. They were collected and published. The Muses Are Heard. I'm going to read at least one of the first sections, or it's either what might just be section one I read tonight. It's not the beginning, but it's the train trip. Now, you have to remember, the company performing Porgy and Bess had been cautioned. Understandably, people might be overhearing you. People might be in hotel rooms. They'll probably be bugging you. Certainly the phone calls. This is before we had these things, which are monitored now. This is just Soviet Union train travel, 1955. And Truman Capote. Yes, Mr. Dickens. He was a very good guest. Since Brest-Litovsk is one of Russia's most strategic railroad centers, its station is among the country's largest, writes Truman Capote. Looking for somewhere to buy a drink, we explored lofty corridors and a series of winding rooms, the principal one furnished with the handsome oak benches occupied by many passengers with very few suitcases. Children and paper bundles filled their laps. The stone floors, soggy with black slush, made slippery walking, and there was an odor in the air. A saturation so heavy it seemed less a smell than a pressure. Travelers to Venice often remark on the vivid sense of that city. The public places of Russia, terminals and department stores, restaurants and theaters, also have a reek that is instantly recognizable. And Miss Ryan, taking her first sniff of it, said, "Boy, I wouldn't want a bottle of this." Old socks and a million yawns. In the search for a bar, we began opening doors at random. Miss Ryan sailed through one and out again. It was a men's room. Then, spotting a pair of dead drunks as they emerged from behind a small red door, she decided, well, this must be the place we're looking for. The red door led into an extraordinary restaurant. The size of a gymnasium, it looked as if it had been done over for a school prom by a decorating committee with Victorian tastes. Plush crimson draperies were looped along the walls. Other era chandeliers distributed a tropic glare that beat down on a jungle of borscht-stained tablecloths and withering rubber plants. The maître d'hôtel.
Maître d'hôtel, yeah, the maître d'.
Maître d'hôtel. How's that?
Amazing.
Of course, they're in Russia.
Yes. Well, they speak.
All right, maître d'hôtel, but they speak better French than I do.
In Russia, yes.
Yeah.
Historically, yes.
They do.
Wow.
The The maître d'hôtel
Maître d'hôtel.
Maître d'hôtel seemed appropriate to this atmosphere of grandeur gone to seed. He was at least 80 years old, a white-bearded patriarch with ferocious eyes that peered at us through a sailor's dive haze of cigarette smoke, as though questioning our right to be there. Miss Ryan smiled at him. Vodka! Poljosta! I think it's the Russian word for please. The old man stared at her with more hostility than comprehension. She tried varying pronunciations. This is like something like that I do, right? Varying pronunciations until you hit pay dirt. Vodka, 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 and even performed a bottoms-up pantomime. The poor dear is deaf, she said, and shouted, Vodka! Vodka, for God's sakes! Although his expression remained unenlightened, the old man beckoned us forward, and following the Russian custom of seating strangers together, put us at a table with two men. They were both drinking beer, and the old man pointed at it as if asking if this what we wanted. Miss Ryan, resigning herself, nodded. Our companions at the table were two very different specimens. One, a beefy boy with a shaved head and wearing some sort of faded uniform, was well on his way to being drunk, a condition shared by a lot of the restaurant's clientele, most of whom were male, many of whom were either boisterous or slumped across their tables, already mumbling to themselves. The second man was an enigma. In appearance, he might have been a Wall Street partner of Herman Sartorius.
A New York financier.
New York financier? Okay. Not a singer.
No.
Oh.
Tragically.
New York financier, the kind of person better imagined dining at Le Pavillon than sipping beer in Brest-Litovsk. His suit was pressed, and one could see that he hadn't sewn it himself. There were gold cufflinks in his shirt, and he was the only man in the room sporting a tie. After a moment, the shaven-headed soldier spoke to Miss Ryan. I'm afraid I don't speak Russian, she told him. We're Americans, Amerikansky.
Sorry.
What?
Amerikansky. Yeah, that's funny.
That's something like I'd say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her declarations had a somewhat sobering effect. His reddened eyes slowly came into semi-focus. He turned to the well-dressed man and made a long statement, at the end of which the man answered him with several chiseled, cold-sounding sentences. There followed between them a sharp repartee, and then the soldier took his beer and stalked to another table where he sat glowering. Well, said Miss Ryan, glowering back, not all the men are attractive here, that's for sure. However, she considered our apparent defender, the very well-dressed man, very attractive, sort of Otto Kruger. Funny, I've always liked older men. Stop staring. He'll know we're talking about him. Listen, she said, calling attention to his shirt, his cufflinks, his clean fingernails. Do you suppose there's such a thing as a Russian millionaire? The beer arrived, a quart bottle and 2 glasses. De maître d'hôtel poured an inch of beer into my glass, then waited expectantly. Miss Ryan saw the point before I did. He wants you to taste it like wine. In the glass, I wondered if beer tasting was a Soviet commonplace or was it a ceremony, some confused champagne memory of czarist elegance that the old man had revived to impress us. I sipped, nodded, and the old man proudly filled our glasses with a warm and foamless brew, but Miss Ryan said suddenly, Don't touch it. It's dreadful. I told her I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, we're in dreadful trouble, she said. I mean, my God, we can't pay for this. I completely forgot. We haven't any rubles. What are they going to do?
Dollars.
Pardon me?
Dollars?
Please, won't you be my guests? Inquired a soft voice in beautifully accented English. It was the well-dressed man who'd spoken. And though his face was perfectly straight, his eyes, a bright Nordic blue, wrinkled with an amusement that took full measure of our discomfort. I'm not the Russian millionaire, They do exist. I know quite a few, but it would give me pleasure to pay for your drink. No, please, there isn't a cause to apologize, he said.
This is not a Russian accent.
No, it's not. This is, I'm getting there,
Oh,
okay?
okay. So I don't want to look at Russian accent.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
All right. No, there is no cause to apologize. It's been the keenest enjoyment, very unusual to run across Americans in this part of the world. Are you communists? After disabusing him of that notion, Miss Ryan told him where we're going and why. Yeah, you are fortunate to go to Leningrad first. A lovely city, he said, very quiet. Really European, the only place in Russia I could imagine living. Not that I do, but still, yes, I like Leningrad. It's not in the least like Moscow. I'm on my way to Warsaw, but I have been 2 weeks in Moscow. That is equal to 2 months anywhere else. Now, you will understand my accent. He told us that he was Norwegian.
Oh, my.
And that his business, lumber, had required him to visit the Soviet Union several weeks of every year, except for a gap during the war since 1931. I speak the language quite well, and among my friends I don't mind passing as a Russian authority. But to be honest, I can't say I understand. Maybe I'll just quit the accent
Yeah,
now.
I think that's good.
I can't say I understand what.
Norway.
And I don't think John Itzty is watching, but if he is, I'm really sorry, John.
See you in the sauna.
Yeah. I ever tell you his Norwegian joke?
Do you want to say?
May I? John Itzty, my old colleague. Norwegian joke. With 3 men, Frenchman and a Briton, and a Norwegian about to be executed during guillotine during the French Revolution.
Yes.
Wait, it don't have to be 3 men. No, we'll just skip to the Norwegian, okay? Oh, wait.
Then
all
you
right.
can do all 3
Frenchman,
again.
all right.
Your accents are excellent.
Frenchman says, Vive la France.
Très bien.
Okay. Come down the guillotine. British man says, I don't know, he's being executed, but the British man says something, God save forget if it was king or queen at that particular point. When the Norwegian man puts his head down. Blade comes hurtling down. It stops within half an inch of severing his neck. And the Norwegian man says, yeah, if you put a little oil up there, it'll work better. John H.T. said that was a Norwegian joke.
That's funny.
That is funny. All right, let me get back to this Norwegian.
By the way, will you show the book? It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Selected writings.
All right, so forgive my parenthetical. Okay. I don't mind speaking the language quite well, and among my friends, I don't mind playing a Russian as an authority. But to be honest, I can't say I understand much more about it now than I did in 1931. Whenever I go to your country, I've been there, I guess 6 times, it always strikes me that Americans are the only people who remind me of Russians. You don't object to my saying that, do you? Americans are so generous, energetic, and underneath all that brag, they have such a wishing to be loved, that they want to be petted like dogs and children, and told that they're just as good and even better than the rest of us. Well, Europeans are inclined to agree with them, but they simply won't believe it. They go right on feeling inferior and far away, alone, like many Russians. Precisely. Miss Ryan wanted to know the substance of his dialogue with the soldier who'd left the table. Oh, silly. It was rot, he said, alcoholic bravado. For some foolish reason, he thought you had insulted him. I told him he was being nigh cultunery. Remember that, nigh cultunerdy. Yeah, remember that, Maggie. You'll find it extremely useful because when these chaps are rude and you feel obliged to tick them off, it means not a whit to call him a bastard, a son of a dog, but to tell them that he's uncultured. That really strikes home. Miss Ryan was growing anxious about the time we shook hands with the gentleman and thanked him for the beer. You've been very cultured, she said. And by the way, I think you're more attractive than Otto Kruger. I shall tell my wife, he said, grinning. Do svidanya. Good luck. An hour out of Brest-le-Fox, the first call to the dining car was announced. It was an event the company had looked forward to, with appetites, excited by both genuine hunger and conviction that the Soviet hosts were bound to make this the company's first Russian meal a real spread. There was another of the cast forthrightly phrased it a bust gut. Miss Thigpen's desires were more modest. 5 spoons of caviar and a piece of dry toast. That's 130 calories. Calories were Mrs. Gershwin. Mrs. Gershwin was long on the trip. Last concerned. I don't think I'm going to tear into the cabbie, darling. It costs $35 a pound in Beverly Hills. The dreams of Leonard Lyons, of course, was the gossip columnist. He was long on the trip. Centered around hot borscht and sour cream. Earl Bruce Jackson planned to stone himself with vodka and slay himself with shashlik. Marilyn Putnam hoped that everyone would save their little tidbits. The first sitting, 50 strong, marched to the dining room and took their places at linen-covered tables, each seating 4, that ran down either side of the aisle. The tables were set with white crockery and smoothly worn silver. The dinner itself seemed as old as the silver and the smell of cooking. A half-century's worth hung in the air like a visible steam. Miss Lyon and the 3 young men from the ministry played host at different tables. The young men kept gazing round, as though silently calling to each other. Miss Lydia shared a table with Lyons, Miss Ryan, and myself. One sensed that for these people who said that her ordinary life was translating articles and living in a room in Moscow, this unique experience brought a flush to her cheeks, as much as talking to foreigners on a train. Something about the silver and the clean cloth and the little basket of puckered apples made her fuss with the ivory and tuck up the straying ends of her hair. Ah, we eat, she said, her eyes shifting toward a quartet of waitresses who came waddling down the aisle with trayloads of the first course. Those whose palates had been anticipating iced caviar and chilled carafes of vodka were a bit chagrined to see set before them yogurt accompanied by bottles of raspberry soda. Miss Thigpen, seated behind me, was the sole voice expressing enthusiasm. I could just kiss them. More protein than a steak and only half the calories. But across the aisle, Mrs. Gershwin warned Miss Putnam not to ruin her appetite by eating it. Don't, darling. I'm sure the cabbie will come along next. The next course, however, consisted of stiff noodles lying like sunken logs in a wintry broth. The entree that followed featured breaded veal cutlets, boiled potatoes, and peas that rattled on our plates like gunshot. To wash this down, there were further provisions of raspberry soda. Miss Putnam said to Mrs. Gershwin, "It's not my stomach I'm worried about, it's yours." And Mrs. Gershwin, sawing her cutlet, said, "Do you suppose they could be saving the cabbie for dessert? You know, with some little pancakes." Miss Lydia's cheeks bulged, her eyes popped, her jaws pumped like pistons, a trickle of sweat down her neck. Eat, she heard. It's good, yes? I think that's their translator. Miss Ryan told her it was wonderful, and Miss Lydia, swabbing her plate with a quarter loaf of black bread, nodded vehemently. You will not obtain better in Moscow.
Very
I might pick that up later.
I've never read that.
Well, it's great. Selected writings of Truman Capote. The MUSES heard. The United States goes to the USSR in 1955. So thanks for being with us tonight on our open book.
Oh, SR, yes, we're having caviar on blinis.
Yeah. Right.
Homemade.
It's Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, the blinis are homemade. The caviar.
Imported always.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. See, I'm trying to think of Potomac caviar. It's like a.
There is a new caviar place on Capitol Hill
Oh,
next to 8th and I.
I don't think we went to an old caviar place.
Me
No.
neither.
Yeah.
I mean,
But that's caviar, right? Caviar.
oh, it's Tuesday, by the way.
Oh, is it really? God,
Thank you,
damn.
John.
Why are we
Thank you,
having
John.
caviar on a Tuesday?
We're not. We're having it Wednesday.
Oh, wait a minute.
We're all fine over here. Everything's fine.
Tomorrow's Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
And last night, right? I need a nap. No, I don't. Back to work. Thanks for being on our open book. See you later. Take care. Bye-bye.